This is the Louie T Network.
Draft Zone. Draft Zone.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I
Zone.
am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on this program, 2014 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. Backed by popular demand, it is the Who's Next format. And simply be the first to leave a comment at the bottom of this video stating the team you'd like to see next and the team in question. So it's really simple. You got to be first, people. You understand that concept. This is the thing I've been seeing of late. We're down to the final 6 teams. I'm starting to see people either leave the phrase next out of the comment totally, which it's like Jeopardy. If you don't give me the phrase next, much like on Jeopardy, if you don't phrase it as a question, you don't get credit for it. You got to make sure the phrase next is in the comment section along with the team you want to see. And you got to make sure it's a team that hasn't already been done. And so for all of you out there, it's really simple. Be first, team that hasn't already been done, next, and the team you'd like to see next. We're coming down to the nitty-gritty, getting towards the end of this series. So make sure it's a team that has not been done already. How do we get grades for these teams, these players, these drafts, so forth and so forth? Simple. We use the baseball grading scale here in the draft zone. Single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts here in the draft wrap-up series, as we cannot tell how these players will pan out. Don't want to count anyone out. Don't want to discount any of these players before they get their opportunity in the National Football League. So we get a grade for each and every single player in X said team's draft. Today we'll be talking about the Chicago Bears, the monsters of the Midway. We're talking about the Chicago Bears in their draft. We'll give a score for each and every single player, tally it up at the end, apply bonuses when necessary, get an aggregate score for this team's draft, move forward to the next team in the series that you, the viewer, will be selecting. Sounds simple enough? That's because it is. So, I've got my handy dandy pointer. I've got the big board behind me. You already know. That's all I need to get this party started. Let's talk Chicago Bears and their 2014 NFL Draft. So, 8 selections for this Bears football team. Phil Emery and company looking to bolster this roster. You had your first-year head coach last year come in and kind of change the way this team was perceived within league circles, especially on the offensive side of the football. And that's what you were looking for Mark Tresman to do. Come in here and jumpstart. That's his forte. Jumpstart this offense. Under Lovie Smith, the defense was always the catalyst for your success, but the offense was always a step behind. Last year, it was the direct opposite. And you kind of saw that one coming. You kind of saw that curveball coming. It only seemed right that the first year Lovie Smith wasn't here, the defense went to hell in a handbasket, and the offense is what kept you in ball games. So you knew the focal point of this draft would be centered around the defense and trying to strengthen up the core of this defense, right up the middle. This Bears defense was gashed in the run game last season, and that's not what we're used to seeing from this Chicago Bears football team. And so you knew a emphasis was going to be put in this offseason in getting the core, the middle of this defense, back to par. And Julius Peppers is no longer on this football team. And so there's some voids to fill. The defensive tackle position was lacking, for a better term, last season and even the year before that. Ever since Henry Melton went down with that injury, the middle of this defense has not been the same. He's no longer a Chicago Bear now. And so if you're the Chicago Bears, the first things first, this defensive line, and I say this all the time, you win games in this league in the trenches, whether it be offensively or defensively. It does not matter. You have to be dominant up front in order to win football games in this league. That's where it's at. You know, we can sit here and talk about running backs and receivers. We talk quarterbacks night and day. But at the end of the day, it's all about those big, nasty, physical guys up in the trenches, pushing each other around. And if you can get after the other team's quarterback and stop the run, you'll give yourself a chance. Vice versa on the offensive end, if you can protect your quarterback, open up some holes for your running back, you will have a chance. And that's what all you can ask for in this league is at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, I got a chance to win the football game. And if you can do those two things on either side of the football, you'll stand a chance. Well, the Bears did not stop the run last season, and it proved to be detrimental to their chances of making the postseason. When they needed to get stops last year, they found it very difficult to do so because they could not stop the run. And they really didn't get after the other team's quarterback that impressively either. So that was going to be the focus. Defense, defense, defense. Charles Tillman dealt with injuries last year. The secondary was suspect at best last season. And so there were a lot of deficiencies. Safety has been a huge problem for this Bears team for a long time now, it seems. And so this Bears defense has been deteriorating right before our very eyes. Last year, the focus was getting linebackers. We saw Urlacher starting to fade to black. He was gone in the offseason last year, so you needed linebackers. Lance Briggs getting up there in age. He dealt with injuries 2 seasons ago, so they went into the draft last year looking linebacker help. This year, defensive line was one of the positions of need that they were going to focus in on, as well as the secondary, which was very, very shaky at best last year. This defense as a whole was shaky. The linebackers, you feel good about what you did last year in terms of what you drafted. Those guys are coming along. Now you got to start putting pieces around those positions, especially along that defensive line and in the back half now. So you start first round, 14th overall selection, cornerback out of Virginia Tech, Kyle Fuller. Mike Mayock loves Kyle Fuller. By the end of the draft process, I think at the beginning for Mike Mayock, his first corner was Darqueze Dennard, cornerback out of Michigan State. By the time the process was over, his number one guy was Kyle Fuller. He loved what he saw on tape. He thought that this guy competed, and he does. If you put on no other tape for this guy than the Alabama tape, then you're sold. You look at this guy, you say, first round pick all day long. He has good length at 6 feet. He's about $190, could stand to gain a little bit of weight. But, I mean, if that's what he's going to play at, that's what he's going to play at. He could get stronger, 12 reps of 2 1/4. He could get a little stronger. But what you see on tape is what you get generally with this guy. He comes up, he'll press at the line of scrimmage, be physical, be aggressive. You know this to be the case with every single Virginia Tech cornerback you're going to get. Anybody on a Virginia Tech defense is going to tackle. Tackle, tackle, tackle. And I think that's the thing that scouts love about Virginia Tech the most, is that they're going to tackle. And he's no different. He'll come up, he'll tackle. Something that somewhat annoys me with him is he plays off a lot. But look, I'm all about knowing your limitations. He will come up, though. It's not like he's exclusively 7 to 10 yards off the ball like some of these cornerbacks. He will come up and challenge you. The biggest knock for me on Kyle Fuller, and I'll get to all of his strengths because there are a lot of them, but I just want to get this out of the way quickly. The biggest knock on Kyle Fuller is that he squats on routes, and this is a fact. Okay, watching that Alabama tape, I fell in love. And I watched that tape last because I knew there was a lot of good footage on him in that game. I wanted to see what else was there to Kyle Fuller. What more to the story was there? And the thing that I saw, I put on the Marshall tape. And the thing that I saw in that game was that he squats on routes. First of all, he played off a lot in that game. A lot of off coverage, but you really don't know. Sometimes you don't know what coverages guys are playing, because just because you see a guy in front of somebody doesn't mean they're playing man coverage. He could have been playing cover 3. He could have been playing quarters coverage. You don't know what he was playing. So I don't dock him for that. He was always in the play. He was breaking up passes. He broke on the ball beautifully, but he was squatting on routes the entire game. I mean, he was off 7 yards, and I don't know if he didn't respect the speed of some of these Marshall receivers, or if they watched some film and he saw some tendencies and he saw what the quarterback and the receivers were doing. I don't know if there was some kind of key that he was keying on, or tips or whatever, but he was squatting on a lot of routes. And at the end of the game, it ended up biting him in his rear end, because early in the game, he was squatting on routes. And this is rare. You don't see a lot of guys play outside technique inside technique, where he's basically shading the receiver. His back is turned to the quarterback, and he's shading the receiver to play outbreaking routes. So he's standing with an inside technique, taking away the outside, and it's rare to see a guy just basically turn his back. Most guys square up to the quarterback. Well, he turns his back to the quarterback and takes away outbreaking routes. Maybe because he knows help is to the inside. Now, he doesn't do it in a way that he can't recover if it's an in-breaking route. We saw that against Alabama, because they ran in-breaking routes, and he was able to pick one off. He had a beautiful one-hand knockaway. But what that does is it allows him to take away speed outs. It allows him to take away the comebacks on the sidelines, those stops. He's ready. He's already in a position where all he has to do is plant and go. There's no stopping or none of that. He's already in a position, especially when you're squatting on a route. You're not even moving your feet. You're sitting there and you're waiting. And if you guess right, you got a chance to pick the football off. But if you guess wrong, guess what? Your feet aren't moving. That receiver's already running at top speed. He's already eaten up your cushion. You've got to get started. Well, he's already going full speed. He's running right by you. And that's what happened at the end of that Marshall game. He was standing flat-footed, squatting on a route, and they had run a lot of outs in that game, and he had sat on all of them. And that receiver came up, ate up his cushion, acted as if he was going to run an out, and went up the field, and there was nothing Kyle Fuller could do. And this was late in the game. This was 4th and 12. Marshall had to have it. It was their last-ditch effort to stay in this game. They were down a touchdown, and he gave it up. He gave up a huge 40-something yard play, set up the tying touchdown. That game ended up going into 3 overtimes. Virginia Tech ultimately prevailed, but that was a big play in the game. So one thing he's going to have to clean up is he's going to have to stop squatting on routes, because when you do that, a lot of times you're susceptible to double moves and you can be beaten deep. And he doesn't have top-end speed. He doesn't have the ability, like a Justin Gilbert per se in this drive, to be beaten on a play but recover because of his speed. He's not that type of cornerback. He needs to stay hip to hip with the receiver. He can. He does it often, but you don't want to find yourself a step or two behind. Now, he's long enough to recover. Saw one of the plays in the Alabama game where he was beaten on a play deep, but he was able to recover, reach in. He has longer limbs, was able to reach in, knock the football away. So there are a lot of things to like with Kyle Fuller. I love his length. I love his instincts. He has a knack for being in the right position when the ball is thrown so that he can make a play on the ball cleanly without interfering with the receiver. I didn't see a lot of pass interference from this guy. It wasn't many plays where I said, okay, that's PI. They just didn't throw it, but he got away with one. He plays the position the way you're supposed to. You locate the ball late. When the receiver looks, you look for the ball. And he's great at scraping down on the arm of the receiver to make sure that, hey, if you're going to catch it, you're going to have to be tough because I'm going to make you work for it. And so he's a guy that tackles. He comes up, sound form tackler, gets you down on the ground, breaks down, gives you special teams value, blocked a punt. In that very game that I watched against Marshall, blocks a punt that directly led to a scoop and score touchdown. So you get special teams, and you get that beamer ball mentality from guys that come from Virginia Tech on the special teams side of things. So you're getting value not only at the cornerback position, but as a guy that will also give it all he has on special teams as well. So there's a lot to like here in Kyle Fuller. And to me, he strikes me as a Bears type of cornerback, a guy that won't wow you with speed, isn't going to be the most effective in terms of the beauty contest, but when it comes to just a natural football player that understands the game, is going to be gritty and physical and tackle, make some plays on the football when opportunities present itself. That's Kyle Fuller in a nutshell. The guy tackles, he plays really good tight coverage, sound in his principles. The only thing I want to see him do a little bit better is, again, not squat on routes. Don't guess too often. In this league, when you guess and you guess wrong, especially when you don't have top end speed. Look, he's a 4.4 940 guy, so we're basically saying you're a 4.5 40 dude. So you don't want to fall behind because you're guessing. I want to see him move his feet a little bit more, make sure that he's ready and equipped to deal with the guy with elite speed so that he can turn, flip his hips, and get out of there and stay hip to hip with these receivers that are trying to run deeper routes on him. But he's ready. He's polished. I like his game. There are some things he can work on, but I think he's ready for the big time in this league. First round, 14th overall selection, cornerback out of Virginia Tech. Kyle Fuller, for me, is a deep shot straight to center field. This one is not coming back. You can put it on the board. Yes. Home run in the first round for the Chicago Bears. The Bears take it deep in the first round with Kyle Fuller at a position of need. Cornerback was a position that this Bears team struggled with a season ago. He's going to come in and help you immediately at that cornerback position. You move on to the second round, 51st overall selection, defensive tackle out of LSU, Ego Ferguson. Now, if you're a Bears fan and you saw this pick, you probably had mixed emotions about this pick. This is one of those picks that you won't truly appreciate unless you're the number 3 overall defense against the run in the league. When you're only giving up 79 or you're only giving up 89 or you're only giving up 93 yards rushing per game, and that's going to put you in, if you're giving up 79, you're number 1 overall. If you're giving up 89, you're either number 1, number 2, or number 3. If you're giving up 94, 96, 97, you're probably in the top 5. So if you're anywhere in that vicinity, it'll be because this guy is what you thought he was in the second round. And you'll appreciate him more. If you're ranked 12th or you're ranked 15th or you're ranked 17th or even like you were a season ago where you were around 30 or 31st in the league in rushing defense, then Ego Ferguson is a guy that you're going to jump on and pile on as a Bears fan. Look, he's a 2-down player. He is a 3 technique that isn't going to get any pressure on the quarterback whatsoever. Okay, he's a guy that is going to be stout at the point of attack. He'll make some tackles here and there, but his main value for you is in the run game. There's no pass rushing ability whatsoever. There's no secondary moves. Everything is power. Everything is just bull rush. I didn't see any spins. I didn't see any swim moves. I didn't see anything other than this guy just trying to get up the field with power. Just, let me just ram into this guy, be a Brahma bull, and see if I can get to the quarterback. And the best tape that I watched, not necessarily for him, but just my best evaluation tape for him, was against Mississippi State, because that was a lot of fun. It was actually a lot of fun to watch him go up against Gabe Jackson, who was also drafted in this 2014 draft, ended up going in the 3rd round to the Oakland Raiders. And to me, Gabe Jackson was the perfect guy to put against him because that's power on power. Gabe Jackson is a big physical mauler in the run game, a guy that doesn't get beat often. He's a technician. I wanted to see what Ego Ferguson could do with a guy like Gabe Jackson, and I'm here to tell you that Gabe Jackson won that matchup. He got the best of Ego Ferguson, and what it was a stalemate. You ever seen 2 guys arm wrestling, and they lock up, and they're just like this? and nobody's moving anywhere. The hands are just they're just locked. That's what it was like with Gabe Jackson and Ego Ferguson. They'd meet at the line of scrimmage, and nobody would give ground. Ego wasn't giving up any ground. Neither was Gabe Jackson. But the problem with that is, if you don't move that guard, and that quarterback has all the space he could ask for in the pocket, then the guard has done his job. He may not be blowing you off the ball, but you're not moving him either, so he wins. And in the run game, it was the same thing. Gabe Jackson didn't move him off the line of scrimmage, but he would turn him, which is fine. Look, if I can wall you off and give my running back a clear, decisive rushing lane, that's all you can ask for. And so he would either wall him off to the inside or wall him off to the outside if it was a run to the outside, or he'd just stalemate him at the line. They would sit there, they would lock up, they wouldn't move, but he wouldn't get off the block. There's no paw of doom. And so Ego Ferguson didn't win. And that's the one thing that I do not like about him is oftentimes, other than the fact that he doesn't get any pressure on the quarterback, but you know, some guys that's just not their forte. And he's not a guy that's going to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But the one thing that I don't like about him is if he meets a guy that is just as strong as he is, it's a stalemate at the line of scrimmage. He didn't move him. He didn't push this guy back. He didn't blow anybody up. A lot of times, if that guy can match his power, it's a stalemate because there's no secondary moves. There's nothing else I have to worry about. All I got to worry about is anchoring down and making sure you don't jack me up and put me in the lap of the quarterback, or you don't push me back into the backfield 3 yards, blow up the running play. Now my running back is trying to get out of the way of me because I'm getting blown up, and now all of a sudden it's a 3-yard loss on the play. As long as that guy can match his power and anchor down, Ego Ferguson is a non-factor. He's not going to be blown off the line of scrimmage unless it's a double team. Now, when he was double teamed, he was moved out of the way. But when it was one-on-one blocking and he had a guard one-on-one or a center one-on-one, he would stand the guy up. It's just that he wasn't pushing him back into the backfield. So, Bears fans, I can understand your frustration if you don't like this pick. I get it. But you need defensive tackle help. And look, much like the Atlanta Falcons did at the linebacker position, you went overkill on the defensive tackle position. But I understand what you were trying to do because, again, you're not used to seeing teams just run the football down your throat the way it happened in 2013. That's not cool. That's not monsters of the midway football. You just got smacked in the mouth last year. I mean, yeah, there was blood dripping down your lip, and you just kept wiping it off, and teams kept smacking you, and you kept wiping the blood off. Look, at some point, you get tired of having nosebleeds and your mouth bleeding. You got to stand up for yourself and stop letting people punch you in the mouth. And so this draft is about standing up to teams trying to run the football on you. And so Ego Ferguson is the first chip in a lot of chips that you're going to throw into that pod and try to stop the run. And so in the second round, 51st overall selection, defensive tackle out of LSU, Ego Ferguson for me. He is a double. Now, you're not supposed to have doubles in the second round. Normally that means you're missed on a pick. Now, I'm not saying you missed on this pick. What I'm saying is you're getting a one-trick pony that his one trick isn't that great. But if he's on a defensive line where every other guy is doing their job and doing it well, he'll fit in and he'll do his job, and you'll feel really good about what you're getting out of Ego Ferguson. Again, not getting any pressure on the quarterback, and he doesn't have any other moves. His one move is power. And if he can get in the backfield with that power and the rest of the defensive line is doing their job, he'll be a part of a line that is third in the league in run defense, and you'll appreciate him more. But if you guys are ranked 15th or 17th or 21st in the league in rush defense, then this pick will feel like it was in vain and you won't be happy with this selection. If you're ranked in the top 10 in rush defense, he'll be a huge part of the reason why you've been able to transform this defense from one of the worst in the league at stopping the run to one of the better ones in the league. He'll be a huge part of it. I just need to make sure that he understands that there's so many more things that he can do to affect the play than just try to use power on each and every single snap. If he can learn that, he'll become a triple instantly. And he's never getting pressure on the quarterback, I don't think. And so I think there's triple value here, but right now I'm just seeing a double. So there it is. You move on to the third round, 82nd overall selection, defensive tackle out of Arizona State, Will Sutton. Now, this is a defensive tackle you can get extremely excited about. Hell, if you would have took this guy in the second round, I think Bears fans would have been a lot more excited about him going in the second round than Eagle Ferguson. But look, at the end of the day, there's two Will Suttons, okay? All right, there's two Will Suttons. Which one are you getting? And this is the biggest thing for me. This is the biggest question I have for Will Sutton is, what are you getting? Because in my mind, I want the Will Sutton from 2012. All right. Damn all of the extra stuff. Forget about all the outside noise, all the guys and coaches and scouts and evaluators that were getting in his ear in the offseason between 2012 and 2013 that led to the 2013 season that said he needed to gain weight. Damn that, okay? The 2012 Will Sutton was dominant. I mean, one of the best defensive players in all of college football. All of college football. We're talking 23 and a half tackles for losses. Yes, 23 and a half tackles for losses at the nose tackle, defensive tackle position. We're talking 13 and a half sacks. Yes, again, 13 and a half sacks from the defensive tackle position. Those are dominant numbers, okay? Those are Geno Atkins-esque numbers. Those are numbers that see you be an all-pro at the next level, and he was dominant. First step, explosive. I mean, the speed off the line, the quickness of the hands, the violent nature with which he played in 2012 was uncanny. There was not another defensive player better to watch, more exciting, more vibrant, more energetic, more dominant, more explosive than Will Sutton in 2012. I mean, he was blowing guys up, throwing linemen out of the way, getting in the backfield, lighting quarterbacks up. This guy was a menace. And then someone told him, hey, man, you've got everything that the scouts are looking for at the next level except one thing. You need to be starter at the point of attack against the run. And somewhere along the line, that message got lost in translation, and he decided to gain 30 pounds. He went from 270, a disruptive 270-pound three technique with the ability to change the game, to a 300-pound sluggish. Now, look, he was still more explosive than the average 300-pound defensive tackle, but he wasn't the 200-pound menace to society that was Will Sutton in 2012. And so all of a sudden, that 23 and a half tackle for loss number that was so explosive and so eye-popping in 2012 came down to 13 and a half, which is still solid for a defensive tackle, but it's not 23 and a half, 2012, 270-pound, dominant Will Sutton numbers. That 13 and a half sack total, that was mind-boggling from the defensive tackle position, came all the way down to 4.5 sacks. So you look, now a lot of that too, now it wasn't just his weight. Teams were paying attention to him. There were games where I watched this guy was triple teamed. I mean, they would double team him initially. He would beat the double team with speed, and they would send the running back over there just to make sure he wasn't coming from the backside with pursuit. So there were times when this guy had 3 sets of eyes on him. So it wasn't just the fact that he had gained the weight that saw that total of tackles for loss and sack numbers come, spiraling down. It was also the attention, much like Clowney. We saw the same thing with Clowney, 2012 to 2013. Everybody wants to say, oh, the effort and this, that, and yeah, some of the effort wasn't at maximum level. And the same goes for Will Sutton. One of the knocks on him is motor runs hot and cold. I didn't see it, okay? I didn't see the motor running hot and cold. I saw a guy that was trying to get in on every single snap that he was on the field. I just saw a guy that was getting frustrated, being held, being double and triple teamed at times. It's frustrating when teams know you're the guy on the opposite team and they're doing everything in their power to stop you from getting to the running back or the quarterback. It's frustrating, especially when you're being held on certain plays and they're not calling it. There's some satisfaction to be gained about getting a flag and having a guy be flagged for holding, but at some point you want to be able to get in the action, get a guy down on the ground and celebrate. Celebrate! And he wasn't able to do that as often in 2013, but I'm here to tell you, You don't want the 300-pound Will Sutton. That's not the guy that you want. Not saying you want the 270-pound Will Sutton, but you don't want the 300-pound. How about we find a happy medium here, guys? All right? Hey, Will, how about we get to 285? I think that's fine. 290, I'll take that. You don't have to be 300 pounds, my man, because you're not the same player. Hell, I'd rather take the 270-pound Will Sutton, make him a defensive end, or make him a defensive tackle, and just be light and have him wreak havoc that way. Then, look, you did it with Henry Melton. And if you did it with Henry Melton, you can do it with Will Sutton. Now, I don't want the 300-pound Will Sutton. I don't know about you. I don't want the one that you want to stop the run. Damn that. I want the explosive, game-changing Will Sutton at 270, 285, 290. Look, either he's going to meet in the middle somewhere at 285, 290, or he needs to just go back to 270 altogether. But he can't be 300 pounds because he's not the same guy, and that's not the guy that you want. That's not the guy that I like, okay? That's not the Will Sutton that I like. I want the Will Sutton that's either 270 or is going to find that happy medium at 285, 290 and run with that weight. I just want the explosiveness back. I want the get off the ball. I want the guy that was a step or two by you before you even got out of your stance. I want the guy with the violent hands that's smacking guys out of the way. I want the quickness, the explosive. Look, he's a quick twitch athlete. Don't try to put a whole bunch of fat, nasty weight on top of that and slow those quick twitch fibers down. He's a quick twitch athlete. Allow him to be who he is. He's dominant when he is that way. And that's what I want to see from Will Sutton. In the third round, 82nd pick overall, defensive tackle out of Arizona State, Will Sutton for me. Look, I don't know which Will Sutton I'm getting. That makes me a little nervous, okay? But the 2012 Will Sutton, out of this world, man. That dude is out of bounds, man. And I'm going to tell you what, if you're getting that guy, this pick is a home run. But if you're getting the 2013 Will Sutton, he still has some ability. He'll still make some plays. He's just not the same. It's not the same. So, this pick for me is a triple. Because I just don't know. I don't know what I'm getting right now. Stop asking. I don't know. I don't know why. So, if I can figure out, if I can be enlightened on what this guy is going to be for this Bears team, if he comes in and they say, hey, look, man, Will, we like the 2012 Will. And look, I'm hoping the Bears told this guy this. I know they've met with him throughout the process. I hope they say, hey, Will, you can go ahead and start getting in shape, man. Because if we draft you, we get an opportunity. We want to see the 2012 Will Sutton. Damn all the extra stuff. Forget about the guy that needs to be started at the point of attack. We've had smaller defensive tackles in here before. We can do it again. You're dominant when you're 270, 275, 280. I don't want the 300-pound Will Sutton. That guy can't do anything for me. Give me the 275, 280-pound Will Sutton, and we can talk. If we're getting that guy, he's a home run. I don't know. I've got questions. Don't have all the answers. He's a triple because of that. You move on to the 4th round, 117th overall selection, running back out of Arizona. Kadeem Carey is the selection. This guy's a legend in Arizona. Went to school in Arizona, in high school, plays college ball at Arizona. Kadeem Carey is a legend in Arizona, and for good reason. A lot of production in Arizona for Kadeem Carey. His last 2 years in college, really impressive. Yeah, over almost 4,000 yards rushing in the last 2 years. He had, in 2012, 19 and some change, and last year, 18 and some change. And I'm going to tell you what, those seasons came at an expense. Now, because you still have Matt Forte, which is your bell cow, which is your Mr. Do-Everything back, Kadeem Carey is going to get a well-deserved break in Chicago initially. And what I mean by that is, man, this guy has some tread off of these tires already. I feel like he's been in a couple Daytona 500s. Meaning, those tires have been driven around the track once or twice. All right. Much like Le'Veon Bell coming out of Michigan State last year, I felt like the Steelers, and the difference between Le'Veon Bell and Kadeem Carey for me is that Le'Veon Bell wasn't going to get a break in Pittsburgh, okay? He's going to be the man in Pittsburgh, and I knew that right away. And so he was going to continue to get a heavy workload in addition to what he was already coming into the league with from Michigan State. With Kadeem Carey, the difference here is he's going to get to kind of breathe a sigh of relief. I finally get to rest a little bit because he was the bell cow at Arizona. Over 300 carries 2 consecutive years. Not to mention, they threw the football to this guy out of the backfield as well. Anytime you're a back, in any given game, I don't give a ham sandwich what game it is, you get over 40 carries, not to mention 48. Who gets 48 carries in one game? And then he caught another 5 passes. That's 53 touches in one game. Are you crazy? Are you trying to kill me? Against Oregon, I scored 4 touchdowns. It was a definitive game for the Arizona Wildcats in 2013. It might have been Kadeem Carey's single-handed best game of his career, but I don't care. 48 carries, that's a bit much for anybody. I don't care who you are. Now, he had 4 touchdowns in that game. You know, he might have had over 200 yards rushing, but that's a lot of carries. But that's how Arizona treated him. They treated this guy like a workhorse, like a work mule. And so you're getting a guy with a little bit of tread off the tires. The last 2 seasons at Arizona, they probably took about the last 2 years of his career off of his career. So his shelf life is a bit shorter than what you would normally get out of a guy out of college. However, because Matt Forte is still going strong like the Energizer Bunny in Chicago, he's not going to have to come in and carry the load. Barring some kind of catastrophic injury, he'll be able to be the backup to Matt Forte, and he'll be a very adequate one, because part of the reason why Matt Forte is such a big part of your offense is because you don't have a backup, and you thought that you were getting something in Michael Bush, and I just don't think that your coaching staff is that comfortable with Michael Bush and ever was. And so Kadeem Carey is much like Matt Forte in the sense that he can catch it, he can run, and he provides pass protection on 3rd down. So he can do it all. He's a 3-down back. But the difference between Kadeem Carey and a guy like Matt Forte is the simple fact that Kadeem Carey doesn't possess long distance speed. Matt Forte is a big, long striding guy that if he hits a seam, can take it the distance. Kadeem Carey isn't outrunning anybody. Nobody. However, he's powerful, leans forward, he has a forward lean to his run. Now, he does run a little upright, but again, we know how these taller backs are. They just run upright. It's natural for them to run upright, but he's a powerful guy. He's a big, powerful back that leans forward, gets the most out of his abilities, and there's not often you're going to see this guy going backwards. He's a tough runner. He moves the pile, keeps his legs churning. You'll come to love Kadeem Carey. He doesn't fumble often. He did have 1 fumble in that Oregon game that I was talking about where he tried to get in the end zone, tried to stretch the football. He got helicoptered, sidewind, ball came flying out. But he's a guy that you can trust to not put the ball on the carpet. He's a durable running back, gives you all he's got on every single snap that he's on the field. He's a tough guy. And so you're going to come to really appreciate Kadeem Carey. I'm just happy the fact that he's going to get to not have 300 touches in Chicago in his first 2 or 3 seasons, because Matt Forte will still be carrying the load, but at some point he'll probably be the heir apparent to the throne at the running back position in Chicago. In the 4th round, 117th overall selection, running back out of Arizona. Kadeem Carey for me is a triple. This guy does it all. He's a tough runner, give you everything he's got, not going to fumble the football, will catch it out of the backfield, can also offer some pass pro as well. He does it all. I just wonder how long he'll be able to last in this league because of the punishment he took at Arizona. Rich Rodriguez did not do this young man any favors when talking about his usage in college, but he's going to bring a lot to the table and give you another running back that you could rely on in Chicago to get it done on the football field. You go on to your second 4th round selection, 131st overall pick, safety out of Minnesota, Brock Vereen. And for me, I don't quite know. You know what? Take the cap off the marker. I'm going to cross out this safety. I'm going to put DB. Because I honestly don't know what this guy is. In 2013, you watch the tape, he's a safety. But there are times where he's out. And it's not just him coming over. You know how sometimes free safeties will come over the slot, check the slot receiver, because they have that ability to do that. This isn't that. This is something else, okay? This is something else. And I saw this guy out wide, out at the boundary. I saw him in the slot, over the slot. I saw him at safety. So he's all over the field. I saw him lining up at the linebacker position. This guy is someone that you just put all over the place. And so, for me, Brock Vereen is multifaceted, has versatility. He started his career as a corner. In 2011, he got snaps at corner. In 2012, he was starting at corner. Started at safety some. 2013, he had an injury in the offseason. Came back, was a little bigger. Hey, they said, all right, we'll make you a safety this year. So he was safety, but then he would play cornerback. So I look at him as a safety with cornerback tendencies. All right. So it depends on what you're looking at him as. I feel like the Bears need the most help at the safety position. I think he can help you at the safety position. Now, here's what I saw. The first thing that jumped off the screen at me when I was watching Brock Vereen was he's one heck of a smart football player. The dude gets it from a football standpoint. Because a lot of times I get frustrated. Let me tell you the one thing that, and this has nothing to do with Brock Vereen, okay? I'll come back to him in a second. I just have this on my chest. Might as well get it off my chest now while I'm talking about it. The one thing that annoys me with football players is when you're not smart. I can't stand dumb football players. This is the thing that I don't, and you can tell when guys get it. Like Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, they get it, all right? This is the thing that perturbs me the most. You see a pile of players, you know, it's 3rd and 3, and a team tries to be sneaky and run the football, right? Or it's even 3rd and 6, and they throw a pass to the tight end, and he's fighting for extra yardage. He catches a 4-yard pass, and the legs are churning, and he's carrying the pile, and there's about 2 of your buddies on the defensive side of football trying to stop this guy from getting a first down. All of a sudden, you see an idiot linebacker come from 5 yards off the pace, and you see it coming, and you're like, in slow motion, no, and he's running, and he's coming full speed, and you're like, please do not hit the pile from the back, which will thrust everybody 2 yards forward and give this guy the first down. And you see him coming, and you said, this guy's an idiot. You see it coming. He comes in with reckless abandon, lights the pile up, and everybody falls forward like a tug-of-war rope. Everybody goes forward 2 yards. He gets the first down. And we praise the tight end for having effort, and he fought for that first down. The crowd gets involved, and the teammates are all excited. That's effort. And I'm saying to myself, no, that's stupid. That linebacker came from 10 yards off the ball with a reckless abandon. He comes with all of this pent-up energy, and it's like some, kinetic energy where you just, all of that forward motion, pushing that pile is going to thrust everybody forward. Why not run around to the front of the pile and do like everybody else and push the guy backwards? I saw Patrick Willis do this like 2 or 3 times in one game. And I said, that's smart. Guys don't get that. He saw a couple of his guys trying to stand a guy up who was trying to get a first down. He ran around to the front of the pile and blew the pile up, pushed it backwards, guy didn't get the first down. They had to punt. That's smart football. And let's take that and go back to Brock Vereen now. He's a smart football player, okay? So on one particular play, this is the one that blew me away. This was the first time that I noticed, damn, this guy's smart. He was supposed to blitz on a particular play, all right? His responsibility was just blitz. It was all-out blitz. And the running back in the backfield was accounted for by the linebacker. And the linebacker initially was in coverage, and then he realized that the running back was blocking. He was standing to help pick up all of the blitzes, and so he came on a green dog. Green dog is a delayed blitz where you're supposed to be in man-to-man coverage. Your guy has blocking responsibilities, so you take off after the quarterback. So now, all of a sudden, the running back comes out on a delay, And Brock Vereen sees that at the last second as he's blitzing, changes his direction, and picks up the running back out of the backfield. Now, the quarterback saw the running back come free. He was about to throw the football. He sees Brock Vereen take a beeline to that running back, and he eats it, takes a sack. That's smart football. If Brock Vereen would have been a dummy on that play, and not, I don't want to call names. I don't want to say he's a dummy because his job was to blitz. If he would have just done his job, that play would have went for 55 yards. Easy, because there was no one out in the flats. That running back did a really good job of selling himself blocking, so much so that the guy that was responsible for him on that play actually ended up blitzing. So if Brock Vereen doesn't make a beeline, change his course, and go out and take that running back out of the backfield, that's either a touchdown or that's a 55-yard gain. Easy. So that's smart. Man, is that smart. Okay, I'll give you another example of him being smart. So Brock Vereen is in coverage. All right. He's communicating as a safety with the cornerback because he's checking the tight end. The tight end splits out into, or actually he's over the slot. And the slot receiver actually goes into motion and splits out a little wider. All right. So now they're in a stack formation, one receiver behind the other, and he's communicating with the defensive back behind him, telling him, hey, if your man crosses my face, we'll switch. And what happens on the play is the outside receiver, which the defensive back was responsible for, comes across the play. And Brock Vereen's man actually runs an outbreaking route. But Vereen stays with his man, carries him to the outside, but the cornerback was playing, because when you stack, you can't come up and press at the line. You got to give space. And so the defensive back was far off the ball. The in-breaking route was going to be wide open. So Vereen carries his guy outside, then switches automatically, comes in, breaks up the pass. Beautiful play. His man, which was the defensive back, was too far off the ball. It would have been an easy completion, would have had some run after the catch attached to it. If the ball was thrown where he could run after the catch, that would have been an easy 15-yard gain, maybe even more, depending on if that defensive back can make the tackle or not. So he showed the smarts to carry his guy out to make sure that the quarterback wasn't going to try to throw it to the slot receiver on the outbreaking route, but then threw him out of the way, was able to pick up the outside receiver running that in-breaking route and knock the ball away. Just beautiful. Just smart, beautiful football. He gets it. I understand that. Now, let's talk about some of the things that I see as deficiencies. One thing that I saw is that he's not a strong tackler. That's one of the things, and not from a standpoint of he doesn't get guys on the ground, but he's just not physical in his nature. He's not an overly aggressive defensive back. So that's why I said he's a safety with cornerback tendencies. As a cornerback, his tackling skills are fine. You know, you don't have to be overly physical as a cornerback. You just want to get the guy on the ground. But as a safety, there's a level of physicality that must be attained to be a safety that I feel like is adequate for the position. And I don't know if Brock Vereen possesses that or not. Another thing is that he's somewhat tight. Being that he's a safety corner hybrid, he's a little tight in the hips sometimes, and so he's not as fluid as you would like him to be in his back pedal and his transition from back pedal to all-out sprint, turning his hips. The fluidity isn't quite what you would like it to be, but it's solid. Again, for a cornerback safety hybrid, it's not much more you can ask for. I mean, you know that it's going to be a little tight. So those are things that he has to work on. And another thing, production on the ball. Don't think he picks it off enough. The one tape that I did watch, or excuse me, one of the two tapes that I did watch on this guy, he did pick one pass up. So, you know, he read it as a safety. He dropped back, read the quarterback's eyes. Quarterback took him straight to the football, made a break on it, picked it off in the end zone, took some points off the scoreboard. I love it. So there's a lot to like here. Now, the question is, what is he? Is he a safety? Is he a corner? Is he both? I don't know what the Bears have in store for him. I don't know what their plans are in the grand scheme of things for Brock Vereen, but right now I got him as a defensive back. You figure it out. If you're the Bears, figure out what you want this guy to do. He can be all over the field for you. He's a 4.47 40 guy, so he's got speed, can play corner with that type of speed, can still play safety. He's 6 feet, so he's got size. Repped 2 1/4, 25 times, so he's muscularly built. He's solid. I don't know if he actually plays to that strength or not, but it's good to know that it's there. There's a lot to like here with Brock Vereen. You just got to figure out what you're going to do with him, but I like the versatility. I like it a lot. So in the 4th round, 131st overall selection, DB out of Minnesota, Brock Vereen for me. He's a triple. I just like all the intangibles that he brings to the table. I think he's a smart football player, and I like that a lot. I think it's underrated when we talk about smarts in this game, because you got to be a smart football player. There's no room for dumb football players on the field. Guys that aren't smart, they get you in trouble. They have lapses in judgment, and they give up big plays. He's not that type of guy. So I like that about Brock Vereen. And it's funny. I'll tell you a story. A wise guy once said, the next time I draft a dumb football player, hit me over the head with a mallet. He said, I'll never draft another dumb football player. That's what he told himself when he was a head coach. He said, hey, you give me a smart football player, and I can do some things. But you give me a dumb football player. I don't care how athletic he is. You give me a dumb football player, and I'll show you a guy that won't last in this league. And so, hey, there's something to be said about getting a smart football player. Wise man once told me that smart guys are the best guys in the National Football League. And so, Brock Vereen, for me, he's a smart guy. He gets it up here. Football IQ, extremely high, and he's a versatile football player. Sign me up. Sign me up. So you move on to the 6th round, 183rd overall selection, quarterback out of San Jose State, David Fales. 6'2", 215-pound quarterback out of San Jose State. High production the last 2 seasons, over 4,000 yards in back-to-back years. Only 2 quarterbacks in all of FBS to do that. The other was also drafted in 2014, that being Derek Carr. So he's a very prestigious company there. But again, wide open offense, a lot of passes being thrown. Very, very accurate passer of the football. At 6'2", not the most ideal height, but I mean, in this league, 6'2" is fine at the quarterback position. That's not a problem. His biggest deficiency, much like another guy, similar height, out of Georgia, in Aaron Murray, 6'1", Aaron Murray is 6'1", arm strength. Arm strength. He's going to have to rely on anticipation, and he's going to have to throw the ball on time. And much like I said with Aaron Murray, who was drafted by the Chiefs in, I believe, the 5th round or so, David Fales is going to have to make sure that he's, number 1, accurate, and number 2, on time. The biggest knock on Fales is that he can't thread the needle with the football. And sometimes he tries unsuccessfully. Now, when he's on time, when he's accurate, when he throws with anticipation, he's one of the best passers of the football in college football. But when he's late or he's inaccurate, and the thing that I said about Aaron Murray applies here, he throws a very catchable football, which is great for his receivers. Receivers love that. They love when you throw a catchable football. The problem is defensive backs do too, especially the ones that can't catch. You know, when you see a guy like Carlos Rogers out there running around who can't catch, as my old high school coach used to say, couldn't catch claps in a whorehouse. If you can't catch and you see a guy tossing up softballs, oh, you're licking your chops because, you know, this is your opportunity to pick a pass off. You know, when you got a guy out there with a cannon for an arm like Colin Kaepernick, and he's firing darts out there, that's your worst enemy because you can't catch, and he's up there throwing 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Them things are going to skip right through your hands. You can't catch. But when you get a guy that's a soft tosser out there throwing up softballs, oh, man. Man, it's Christmas for you if you're a defensive back and you can't catch. Because, you know, if you get your hands on it, you can corral it and pull it in. And so with David Fales, he's got to be accurate and he's got to be on time. When he's both of those things, he's deadly. I mean, the accuracy speaks for itself. In 2012, he was a 73% completion percentage guy. Do you understand what kind of clip that is? Do you understand that 73% of the time, that means out of 100 throws, 73 of them are going to be completed. That's ridiculous. And unlike what Derek Carr was doing out at Fresno, a lot of his passes were down the field. These weren't dink and dunk, easy, warm-up throws where you're just hitting receivers at the line of scrimmage and you're allowing them to run after the catch. He was actually pushing the ball down. He played in more of a pro-style offense than Derek Carr did. And so I was more impressed with his completion percentage than Derek Carr's. Now, Derek Carr played at a higher level, played in a conference that saw him play against probably a little bit better competition. But all in all, David Fales, when he's on, he's electric. He can make some really good throws, make some really good decisions. In 2013, I think the completion percentage came down to about 65. That's still an excellent completion percentage. I mean, 2/3 of the league don't throw, at a, okay, I'm over-exaggerating. Half of the league doesn't throw at a 60% completion percentage. So to do it at a 65% clip, that's pretty impressive. So he's an accurate quarterback. Doesn't turn the football over that often, but he has to play with anticipation and he has to be accurate in order for him to survive in this league. He's the anti-Jay Cutler, basically. Jay Cutler has all the measurables, has the arm strength, one of the strongest arms in the league. Footwork is sloppy at times for Jay Cutler. There's times where Jay Cutler throws off his back foot, still launches it 40 yards in the air on a rope. That's not David Fales. He can't afford to throw off of his back foot with bad footwork. Everything needs to be lined up in order for him. You don't want him out of the pocket, but I will say this. His escapability and his ability to maneuver and manipulate the pocket is exceptional. I was impressed with him. There would be times where there's pressure and he'd be running out of the pocket, zigging and zagging. I'm like, is this guy Johnny Manziel or is this David Fales? I mean, he would be zigging and zagging in and out of blockers, dodging, defenders and finding a place, at least, even if it wasn't for a 15-yard gain, it should have been a 7-yard sack and he'd get back to the line of scrimmage and find a place to fall down. And so I can respect that. He's more mobile than people give him credit for. And so there's a lot to like here. Right now, he's just going to be a really solid backup. And you lose Josh McCown, so you need that. You need a solid backup. He'll come in. He'll take reps. Look, you want a veteran initially to be the backup to Jay Cutler. Somebody that you can trust to come in and steady the ship. Because we know it's nothing for Jay Cutler to miss 4 to 6 games in any given season. Nothing. So you need a guy to come in. I think David Fales, give him time, and he'll be ready to step in and hold it down for a 4-week period, and you'll feel really confident that he'll come in and get it done. And at some point down the road, maybe he can step in and be a starter for you. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Jay Cutler isn't going anywhere anytime soon, so he'll be a backup, and that's what you drafted him to be in the 6th round, 183rd overall selection, quarterback out of San Jose State. David Fales, for me, is a solid double. I like the pick. I like the value. I think he's going to come in and help you. I think there's a lot of things that he has to improve in his game, but in the 6th round, to get a guy that you can develop, he's a developmental quarterback, a guy that you can develop over time and mold him. And this is what Mark Tresman is best at. This is why you brought him to Chicago, to take quarterbacks and get the most out of them. It starts with Jay Cutler, but it's also going to extend out to David Fales. Take him, make him a better quarterback, get the most out of David Fales, and make him the best David Fales that he can be. Tresman will do that. I think this is a guy that you'll like down the line in Chicago. We move on to the 6th round, second 6th round selection, 191st overall selection, punter out of Miami, Pat O'Donnell. I love Pat O'Donnell, and not for anything related to what he does on the field. He's a punter. So what? Who cares about punters? All right. Now look, I hate when people downplay special teams because, and I'm more of a field goal guy myself. I'm a field goal kicker guy myself. I put more stock in field goal kickers than I do punters. But do not mistake me for a guy that doesn't care about punters or field goal kickers or special teams for that matter, because it matters. It's funny, as fans, we don't really appreciate kickers, punters, and field goal kickers and guys of that nature until they do something of note. And you really don't know what you've got until it's gone. from a field goal standpoint, when you've got something good, you take it for granted sometimes. And when that guy leaves and then all of a sudden you're one of these teams every year looking for a field goal kicker and you're losing football games because you can't make field goals, it stings. And then you start getting upset. And that's when you start to realize this stuff matters. Same thing with the punter. Now, punters won't win or lose you games, but they can help you win or lose a game. I remember a playoff game about 3 years ago or so. Indianapolis Colts, San Diego Chargers, and Mike Cyphers was the punter for the Chargers on that day. And he single-handedly put the San Diego Chargers in a position to win that football game. I think he pinned the Indianapolis Colts inside the 5-yard line at least 4 times in that game. And for an offense that was explosive like the Colts, led by Peyton Manning, they had their backs against the goal line of the San Diego Chargers practically the entire second half, and it gave the Chargers defense a chance, and they ended up winning that game, sending Peyton Manning and company home early in that postseason. And the punter was a huge part of that game. Punters can do that. They can flip field position. If you've got a garbage punter that is shanking the football, kicking it 23 yards net, that's the worst thing. And look, there's 2 things I can't stand with punters, all right? One is a guy that consistently is shanking the ball. You know, he has consistency issues. Mentally, he's fighting with himself. You know, he's struggling internally. I don't need those guys. And the second thing is a guy that outkicks his coverage, or you end up having a drive that stalls out right around the 45-yard line of the opposing team. You're right in no man's land. It's too far to go for it. It's like 4th and 8. You don't want to go for it. But you can't kick a field goal. You're too far out of field goal range, you know. So you got to punt. You need your punter at this point to not kick this ball in the end zone. Don't boom this thing 5 yards into the end zone. I don't need a 49-yard kick with a net of 29 yards because of the touchback. I need you on this particular play to kick it really high in the air. And if the return man wants to let it hit the ground, I need this to be down inside the 10-yard line. At worst, I need you to kick it high in the air, make them fair catch it at the 10-yard line, and we go from there. Don't kick the ball in the end zone, man. So, Pat O'Donnell for me, and let me just break him down quickly. The reason I love Pat O'Donnell has nothing to do with his leg and his ability to kick the football, which he's actually really good at. My thing with him is he's a football player, man. And you can tell he hung around the brothers. You know, he's a white dude, but he's a brother, you know. He's got a part in his head. What white dude, you know, got a part in his head? Okay, yeah. He's in a weight room. 25 reps of 2 1/4. What punter is doing that? He's 6'4", 220 pounds. What punter is cut like that? What punter is running a 4.6 40? Now, all of these things in the grand scheme of things, they don't matter. What they do to me, because he's a football player. He just wants to be one of the guys. Now, you know, there's a couple of musclehead punters around the league, but most of them, punters are punters. I mean, they're the guys with the wristwatch on, and they got the wedding ring on their finger. I mean, punters are squares, man. These guys they're outcasts. But Pat O'Donnell is one of the boys, man. He's the guy you come over, hey, what up, Pat, man? Pat's like, yo, what up, son? What's good? What's poppin'? That's Pat O'Donnell, man. He's a cool dude. He's in the weight room. He's throwing up 2 1/4, 25 times. He's out running with the running backs and the receivers. He's running a 4.6 40. Look, they had a stat that of how much faster he was than running backs and receivers and tight ends and offensive. I mean, he was up there, man. He was faster than like 19 running backs. He was faster than like, you know, 13 receivers, or excuse me, like 25 receivers at the combine. I mean, he was faster than a lot of guys, man. I mean, like, this dude is fast for a punter. And I remember I saw him at the combine. I'm like, damn, he's big, he's fast, he's strong. There's a lot to like here. So now let's talk about the things that matter. Okay, I got away from Pat O'Donnell, the football player. Strong leg can offer you the ability on kickoffs to kick it off and get you some touchbacks. Was consistent at Miami in doing that. And he is a guy that will punt the football and can kick it a ton, can down it inside the 10-yard line, can also cause fair catches. He's a really good punter with a really strong leg, can get it done. Also was a holder at Miami, so he can hold for field goal attempts. So there's a lot to like here. Gives you a lot of value. And the thing that I love the most is because he's so big and strong and fast, if a guy wants to break a kick, if he wants to act bad, Pat can come and track him down and light him up. So you get everything you're looking for. You know, Pat McAfee has shown me that, hey, even punters can get in and jack a dude up sometimes. I remember last year, Trendon Holiday tried to break off a big one for the Denver Broncos, and Pat McAfee met him on the sideline. And look, I know Trendon Holiday is like 5'8", 5'7", or whatever. I don't care about that. Pat McAfee, 6'1", went and lit him up. And so if Pat Mac can do that, Pat O'Donnell. And what's up with these Pats being swole up, lighting guys up on the side? Look, Pat O'Donnell is my guy. I don't like punters that often. But Pat O'Donnell at 6'4", 220, 4.6 40, rapping 2 1/4 25 times. That's my guy. And so in the 6th round, 191st overall selection, punter out of Miami, Pat O'Donnell for me is a double. He's gonna come in. He's going to kick the football. He's going to light some guys up. He's going to run. Even if he doesn't tackle him, at 4.6 40, he's got the ability, if he has a good angle, to cut some guys off, at least force them back to the inside where the help is. He might be able to stop a couple of returns from going the distance. So you round out the draft in the 7th round, 246th overall selection, offensive tackle out of Boise State, Charles Leno Jr. You put on the tape, and you see this big, long, athletic tackle with some movement skills. But to me, he doesn't have a problem with speed to the inside. Seems like if you try to, like, it was one play that I feel like was the perfect example of him not having a problem with speed to the inside. There was a blitz, and this is in the bowl game. I want to say it was the Holiday Bowl. They were in Hawaii. They were playing against, I want to say, Oregon State. And one of the safeties blitzes. He comes like 20 yards off the pace like a speeding bullet. He times it up perfectly. He timed it up on some Troy Polamalu type stuff. I mean, as he hit the line of scrimmage, they snapped the ball. He didn't have to break stride. He was coming from 20 yards off the ball, so you know he was coming with a huge amount of speed. Speed! And Charles Leno Jr. absolutely stonewalls him to the inside and seals the pocket up, gives the quarterback an absolutely gorgeous pocket from which to throw, and he delivers a dart down the field for about 47 yards. So that's all you could ask for. Guy comes, takes a hard, aggressive inside approach. You take him inside. If that's where he wants to go, that's where you take him. Take him inside. Let him have fun inside. He's not getting to the quarterback, though. That's what he did on that play. And I saw other guys take hard, aggressive approaches inside, and he just washed them to the inside. Great. His problem is, when you go outside with that same speed, I don't know if he's as quick. And also, when guys translate speed to power, they can jack him up, put him on skates, and put him in the lap of the quarterback. That's another issue I have with him. And then, for him to be as athletic as he appears, when he gets out in space, because he doesn't have a problem getting to the 2nd and 3rd level, but when he gets out in space, he's clumsy. It's like he doesn't know who to block. He's one of these guys looking around. Who do I block? Go find somebody to block, man. And guys are able to dart past him, and he can't get a hand on him. He's not fast. I'm like, you're in great position. You ran out there. You did the hardest part, which is actually getting out in front of the play. Go block somebody. And he's missing, and he's whiffing. Whiff. He's missing guys on blocks, and I'm just like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? You're just in the way now. You're not blocking anybody, not serving a purpose. So you see why he's a 7th round pick. There's some ability here. I don't know if he's actually a tackle or not. At 6'4", 315 pounds, I'm not sure if he's a tackle or not, if he's a guy you kick inside the guard, but there's some potential here. He's not a total stiff. I saw some really good things out of him. When guys tried to go to the inside, he wasn't having it. I thought he did a pretty bang-up job in pass protection. I thought where he really struggled was in the run game. Doesn't really get in front of his man and stay in front of him, doesn't engage and stay engaged, has a tough time sustaining blocks. When he's out in space, he doesn't find a guy. He's not a crosshair blocker, doesn't go out in space, lock onto a defender and go and get him and stay engaged. He misses a lot of time out in space, doesn't really serve a purpose when he's on the move. When he's at the line of scrimmage, I think he's at his best. Really don't like him in a run game, but I think as a pass protector, he does a really good job in protecting his quarterback. So in the 7th round, 246 overall selection, offensive tackle out of Boise State, Charles Leno Jr. for me. There's some value here. I think if you can clean him up, work on some of his deficiencies, and figure out what his best position will be at this level, whether it's guard or tackle, I think there's something here. He's a double. I don't have a problem with Charles Leno Jr. Making this roster if he does, in fact, crack this 53-man roster. If he doesn't, and you decide to stick him on the practice squad and you work with him, I think there's something there. I don't know what it is right now, but I think there's some value here. I saw enough on tape to feel like there's enough to work with here that he can make someone's NFL roster. So you look at this Bears draft, and it's an impressive draft. I thought that they would attack the secondary a little bit more aggressively, but they felt like, hey, we need to attack up front a little bit more aggressively. And I get that. I understand that you win games in the trenches in this league. I understand that. I get it. So to see them draft two defensive tackles in this draft, I get it. I understand what the thought process was there. You get a DB and a cornerback, so you addressed some of your secondary needs as well. So I thought it was a really good draft on the part of the Chicago Bears, understanding what they have to clean up and what they need to get better at to take that next step and make it to the postseason. I mean, this team should have won the division last year. Obviously, the Detroit Lions didn't want this division last year. You were supposed to be the heir apparent to that throne. You were supposed to be next in line. Oh, you don't want the division? Well, let me have it. I mean, Green Bay was out of the picture, and you let them back in. You let them off the hook. And so this year, you're going out and you're attacking the draft aggressively so that you can put yourself in a position that if Green Bay wants to trip, if Detroit wants to trip, we'll take this division. No questions asked. And so Kyle Fuller, for me, is a day one plug-and-play guy, whether you decide to stick him in the slot or you want him out wide. I think he's a boundary corner. You stick him out wide and you let this guy work. He's a home run. Ego Ferguson, you may be a little disappointed in this pick. You'll only be able to appreciate what Ego Ferguson brings to the table if you're a top 10 rush defense. If you're a top 15, if you're a 20 ranked rush defense, if your defense looks anything like it did last year in terms of stopping the run, then Ego Ferguson isn't doing his job, and you're not going to appreciate the value that you get in Ego Ferguson as a double in the 2nd round. Will Sutton, to me, he's the game changer. Of the 2 defensive tackles you drafted, he's the guy that can have the most impact. He's got to get back to the 2012 weight, or he's got to find a happy medium at 280, 285, 290. He can't be any bigger than 290. I don't want to see him any bigger than 290. I really want to see him in the 280s and let him play at that weight and get back to being the physical beast that he was in 2012 when he had 23.5 tackles for loss and 13.5 sacks and arguably was the best defensive player in all of college football. He's a triple with home run tendencies. Get him back to the right weight, and this guy's going to be an absolute steal for you in the 3rd round. 4th round, Kadeem Carey, running back out of Arizona. He's a triple. Guy brings everything to the table, has a lot of tread off the tires, but he's not going to be your workhorse back just yet. You still have your guy in the saddle in Matt Forte, so he's going to be allowed to be a change of pace, a secondary back, and that's exactly what I think he needs to be. And so he can catch it, he can run it, and offer you pass pro. He's a triple. Brock Vereen, smart safety or cornerback, so by trade, he's a defensive back out of Minnesota. He's a triple. Smart football player, very instinctive, can play corner, can play slot, can play the nickel, can play safety, can drop down, help you in the run game, does everything well, nothing great. Think he's going to be a solid addition to this team. Versatility, versatility, versatility. He's a triple. You go on to David Fields, quarterback out of San Jose State in the 6th round. Backup quarterback right now. You got Jay Cutler. You're not looking for anyone to come in and replace him. But we know Jay Cutler can go down for 4 to 6 weeks at a time. We've seen him do it. It's nothing for him to miss 4 to 6 games in a season. And so you need a adequate, a competent backup quarterback. Josh McCown no longer in the saddle in Chicago, David Fales is a guy that Mark Tresman is going to groom, get him to learn the NFL game, the speed of the game, the nuances. He's a guy, doesn't have a cannon for an arm, but when he's accurate and he throws with timing and precision, he's a really good pickup in the 6th round. He's a double. Pat O'Donnell's a punter out of Miami, big kid, 6'4", 220, repped 2 1/4, 25 times, runs a 4.6 40, has a big leg, can give you kickoffs that are touchbacks, can punt the football, have it down inside the 10-yard line, offers you a guy that can hold on extra points and field goals. There's a lot to like here. And in a pinch, if a guy breaks loose on a kickoff, a 4.6 40 punter like himself that reps 2 1/4, 25 times, he can get in, make a tackle, be a physical presence. I like Pat O'Donnell. He's a double. You round out the draft, Charles Leno Jr., tackle out of Boise State. Big, long kid with some athleticism. Struggles with speed to the outside. Struggles with bull rush when he's not set. Doesn't get to anchor. Out in space. Doesn't do a really good job of staying and maintaining blocks. But it rushes to the inside. Straight bull rushes where he gets to anchor down. He's really solid around the line of scrimmage. When he gets away from the line of scrimmage, I think he gets worse as a football player. There is some value here. There is something to work with. You just got to get him into your system and figure out where he's best at. He's a double as well. You tally up the drafts. There are no singles here for the Bears. Very impressive draft haul. You go home run, double, that's 6. Triple, that's 9. Triple, that's 12. Triple, that's 15. Double, that's 17. Double, that's 19. Double, that is 21. And so you go 21, then you got 1, 2, 3, 4 doubles. So you get a doubles bonus, that's 23. Then you get a triple, 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 3 triples. That's a triples bonus, that's 26. You divide 26 by 8. Look, I'm no math major, but I know 26 divided by 8. That's a 3.2 triple, my friends. And so it's a 3.2 triple for the Chicago Bears in the 2014 draft wrap-up series. Really impressive draft. And you got a lot of guys that are going to come in and help right away. Fuller going to help right away. Ferguson, Sutton, guys that I think you're going to rely on very early on. Yeah, you got Jay Ratliff. And so you're not looking for Ego Ferguson to, because I don't think he's the guy that's going to start for you. Even though he's a 2nd-round pick, I think if Sutton gets into shape, he's the guy that ultimately will start at defensive tackle next to Jay Ratliff, or excuse me, Jeremiah Ratliff, if he is back to his Cowboys form. And so I think that these first 3 picks, Fuller, Ferguson, and Sutton, all have capabilities to help you right away. Kadeem Carey going to be a backup back, going to give you some production there. So he's going to help you right away. Brock Vereen, interesting pick because I don't know if he's going to end up starting for you or not, but he gives you versatility. He will be on the field in 2014. So that's another guy that's going to help you right away. David Fales, developmental quarterback, not going to help you right away. Pat O'Donnell, you know he's going to be a guy that you're looking to punt the football right away. So he's going to help right away. And Charles Leno Jr. is a developmental guy, so he won't help you right away. So we're talking about out of your 8 selections, 6 of these guys are probably going to contribute right away in their first season. So you got to be impressed with this draft haul for the Chicago Bears. Offensively, you were dynamic last year. Defensively, you were a dud. So this draft class is going to help you improve upon that defense that was lackluster a season ago. And so if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Chicago Bears triple in the 2014 NFL Draft Wrap-Up Series. So the last question remains. Who is next?
Draft Zone.
Like the content? Want more? Sub up.